Woke up this morning feeling fine. There's something special on my mind.
Hey there, this is Jelaila Star. Welcome to my weekly messages. Today the topic is a 9D perspective on the new economic system and the future of the IRS. And what I didn't put in the title, the Federal Reserve and the banks. It would have been too long of a title. The reason I'm doing this is because this is information that came to me just actually last night. And it was information that the Neighborhoods wanted to see shared on the interview on Project Camelot with Carrie Cassidy, but did not get shared because we simply did not have the time to get it done. So I wanted to give it to you now. What they're saying is that we're going to eventually have a new economic system that will be different than the one that is in the works right now, compliments of the global elite. The one that will be disempowering. There's going to be a new one that's going to develop. They said it within 3 years. That will be very empowering. And it will be compliments of Generation Y. Generation Y are the children that were born between the early 1980s and the year 2000. And they're now in their 20s and 30s. This is also known as the millennial children. This generation is also known as the millennial children. And they have brought us the internet as it is now. They have brought us social media as it is now, which has now changed, wow, the way we look at the world. And the next thing they'll do is they'll bring us a new economic system. The reason the Neighborhoods wanted me to share this with you is because many of you have been wondering about this one world economy that the global elite has planned and wondering if we're going to become slaves of that. No, not necessarily. Because there is a portion of the world ascending, and we know that these realities are going to have to coexist. And we know that when Earth goes through that field of energy at the end of 2012 as it crosses the galactic equator and we split into separate versions of Earth, one of these worlds is going to end up with the global elite version of an economic system, and one is going to end up with a much higher evolved economic system. So what they're trying to share, what they want me to share with you, sorry for the, sometimes it glitches. What they want me to share with you is something of a description of the new higher dimensional economic system and who's bringing it to you. So what they're saying is this new economic system is going to be based strictly online. It's going to be credits, and it's going to be similar to, but far beyond, the current barter system as we know it. They said this is already in development, and within 3 years, you will see it become full-blown. They said it will run concurrent with the current economic system being brought to us by the global elite. And, the federal, it involves the banks and the Federal Reserve and the IRS and that whole thing. It'll run concurrent to that as it gets started. But just like social media ran, concurrent to the rest of our reality and eventually became like the big thing, that's the way this new economic system will take hold. And within about 3 years, you're going to see it become really a big thing. And that will be, after 2012. It'll really take off after 2012, but it's already in its infancy right now. They're telling me it's in development. I don't know any more about that. I'm sure a lot of you do who are involved in it, and maybe you don't know that anybody else knows about it. Hey, well, they're like blowing the whistle and telling everybody that you're out there creating something awesome, so thank you very much. Anyway, they're saying that this new system is being started simply because this generation is going to be inheriting an incredible financial burden in the form of a multi-trillion-dollar deficit that has been caused as a result of the collapse and the whole fiasco, with bailing out the banks. It is a debt that they cannot possibly pay off and will end up being passed down to their children and possibly even put on the shoulders of their grandchildren. This generation simply isn't going to take it. And what they're going to do is they're not there to fight. They're not going to get angry. They're simply going to create a new system, put it out there via the internet, and let it eventually take over and render the old one obsolete. So this also answers a question that I've had for many years, is what's going to happen to the IRS and what's going to happen to the banks and the Federal Reserve. And they're saying because the new system is the way it is, it's going to be much more efficient, much more secure, so you won't need banks to put your money in. There will be no hard currency, so there won't be any need for banks. The IRS, the big behemoth that it is, will not be able to adapt fast enough to try to tax it, so it will be rendered obsolete because, you see, the people who choose to take advantage of the new system will be using a different form of currency. And they will not be dependent on the hard currency of the current system. So there'll be two forms of currency that you can use in two different systems. And the young people that have created this, they'll automatically get this, and they'll start, because they're the new market, they're the new major consumer market. They will choose to buy and sell through this new system, and because many of them are the new decision makers, and many of them will become, if they're not already, will be the new business owners, they will choose to buy and sell their services through the new system until eventually there's very few people using the old system. So who's the IRS going to collect from? And so as a result of that, you're going to see another splitting of realities in the form of people using the old system and people using the new one. To use a new one, you have to be able to embrace it, understand it, and want to use it and get involved in it. And there'll be some people who will and some people who won't. But eventually, it's sort of like when the horse and buggy, when the automobile was developed. Over time, you had the young people who bought the cars, for the most part, the new automobiles. The old people were still using the horse and buggy, but eventually, a generation or two later, most everybody was using automobiles and very few people were using horse and buggy. So what happened was the automobile eventually rendered the horse and buggy industry obsolete. Now, it didn't mean that people were poo-pooing the horses and buggies, because there's really nothing wrong with them. They just simply, there was something new and better and more efficient. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So that brings me to the last point that everyone's wanted to make. They said when the systems transition properly in a way that is for the highest good of all souls trying to evolve here on this planet, it will be done without conflict. It will be done by simply creating a new system that will eventually take over from the old one. And that's exactly what appears to be happening. So hopefully that answers your question about the IRS and gives you something to get excited about. And I'm looking forward to seeing that new system. And I don't have any more details on it, but if you have information on it, maybe you're one of the people who is developing this system. I'd love to hear from you. So it gives us a lot to hope for. I'm looking forward to 2012 being an amazing time, and I'm looking for the years after that to be even better. So you take care. Have a great week. Talk to you next week.
I met a new girl in the neighborhood.